Hey, what's up? This is Ken Ivy, aka Pimpin Ken, and you're watching a view from the game. And I got a distinguished guest, a guy I met over 30 years ago in Chicago. I got Mr. Rick. How you doing,
My
Mr.
man,
Rick?
it's my pleasure, brother. How you
My
feeling?
pleasure, my brother. Hey, so usually when somebody come on the show, we want to see what they got. So I know you ain't no rapper. So
By
can you
far.
play some music for
Yeah, I
us?
think about my life. And when I think about our lives, that song there defines us. Because it says, and if you throw it away, we chose not to throw it away.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing.
My brother.
So that was appropriate for you and I.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rick. So first of all, I have a lot of young guys on this show, Mr. Rick, and they do this thing called pimp hop, where they rap about their pimp gang. And me and you both, we've been around, we've seen enough moons and suns to know that that lifestyle ain't nothing but a trap, and it's glorious while you're doing it, but at the end of the day, you know, um, it's really a trap for our young brothers and sisters. So a lot of people don't know is that you got some experience. You've been around the Nation
Oh,
of
yeah.
Islam. I remember I was talking to you when you was doing your show, the original OGs. You had me on your show and we was talking about Islam. Can you tell my viewers a little bit about Islam? Because I think it's going to set us up for, not just a religious sermon, but
No,
just
I get it.
your personal experience.
You know, our conversations are different conversations.
Right.
We go there. Going back to that subject matter, they want us, and it seems to have gotten us in that space that we've forgotten how long we've been here and how we got here. The Nation of Islam defines that. A lot of people are turned off or insulted by what's said in the literature of the Nation of Islam. But I don't call ducks cats.
Right.
If you're a duck, you're a duck.
Right.
If you're a cat, you're a cat.
Right.
And if you're barking, I'm not going to confuse that with the goddamn cat. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when the Nation of Islam or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would say certain things, it was to define a certain character. He didn't define the person or the people. They defined themselves through their actions. We had been here for a period of 400 years. The books, talking about religious books, specifically the Bible, it would state that a particular people would be in a strange place for 400 years and certain events would have to happen in order for them to get out of their situation. That's what our people need to look at, because we've been hit in the head to the point that it's hard for us to digest information. Information is information. It's either true or it's false. Once you look at that information, you need to have the ability to determine whether it's true or false. Specifically, black people need to find out if they fit into a certain category. Once you realize what category you fit in, then you can begin to look at your circumstance.
So when you think about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I know I didn't, read a lot of the literature, Message to the Black Man, How to Eat to Live, and being a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America myself, being a father of the Honorable Noble Drew Ali, I know that the minister, not the minister, the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it appears to me that he was trying to wake the black man up, teach the black man that he is the original man, that he's the God of the universe, that, we got to uplift our sisters, as the Honorable Noble Drew Ali said the same thing on the one-on-ones, on the pamphlet. He had a woman, he was holding a woman up, and he put humanity. Malcolm X said that, our problems in America is not civil rights, but it's human rights. So, we know that all of these brothers had similar messages. We know the Minister Farrakhan taught us about the power of economics, taught us about knowledge of self, after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And still, all of this knowledge, all this wisdom, this 400 years, Abraham, know for sure that your people would be a stranger in a strange land, and here they would suffer for 400 years, and they would come out with great substance. That great substance appeared to be hip-hop, because hip-hop have created 5 billionaires. You're going to say Jay-Z, Kanye, Dr. Dre, P. Diddy, and Travis Scott, if you want to say he married to the Kardashian chick. And then LeBron, if you want to count him. So, this is what hip-hop has created. That's that 400 years of great substance. However, I think that the glory and the shame has been misplaced. And I think our brothers have falsely interpreted, because you said truth and falsehood. And the Honorable Judge said, ain't but two things in the world. One is truth and one is falsehood. And sometimes they can be strangely mixed. And, we have a higher self and a lower self. So it seemed like the brothers in the hip-hop community, even though they came out with this great substance, they're making all these billions of dollars, and we created multi-million dollars. It seems like they still practicing the lower stuff, hatred, lewdness, theft, and everything that harms. So what do you say, a distinguished gentleman, after all these teachings, all these great people here, Martin Luther King, Huey Newton, H. Rap Brown, Elvis Cleavers, what do you say to that?
What I would say is, out of all the people you named, and I myself, I'm Moorish American as well. Islam. Noble Drew Ali was a very powerful human being. All of these people came with the same message. You and I have the same message. We just have two different ways of distributing that information. But it's the same message. These gentlemen had the same message. Let me tell you something, brother. If you would take the language that the white man is the devil, if you would take that out of Elijah Muhammad's teachings, black people wouldn't have a problem with it.
No.
But because of our servitude, unwilling servitude, we fear that conversation because we still see him as our master and we see him as our God. That's just the reality of our psychology. So all these brothers were trying to say to us, hey, you need to be self-independent. What's happening in hip-hop is we're not trying to be self-independent. We're trying to join into something that my personal belief is the majority of it is not good for us. And that's what I would communicate to the world of hip-hop. We have, you named, 5 billionaires. Well, in this world, there ain't really no money when you're talking about a people. So I think we generate something like $1.3 trillion a year. Most governmental entities don't even have an economic foundation of that amount of money, man. When you talk about third world, well, I can't say third world anymore, but that part of the world in different parts of the world, they don't have that type of economy. The problem is we don't use the economy to raise ourselves. We're constantly going to our oppressor to give us the tools to raise ourselves. Well, the tools are right there, man. God gave us hip-hop, like you said, as a tool to be able to do that. But we always end up allowing other people to control our circumstance. This is what hip-hop must do. Hip-hop is the only one, in my opinion, that has the balls to do it.
Well, it's interesting that you said that. About 3 years ago, I started an organization called Hip Hop Fraternity.
Yes, sir.
Just to your point, we own our own magazine, we own our own award show, we own our own clothing line, we own our own social media, we own our own podcast, we own our own magazine because of the very thing that you said, and then, studying the teachers, the Honorable Noble Drew Ali, he said it takes finance to uplift the nation.
Period.
Then when you think about, you talked about earlier about how, if you take the white man out of the white man being the devil out of the equation, you know what I'm saying? I mean, people accept our religion. They accept the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the Honorable Noble Drew Ali. You know, Noble Drew Ali didn't even call him the white man. He called them the Europeans. He didn't call us black. He said we Moorish American. He said that black was a color. You know, he said that everything black is negative. He said if you step over a black cat, you have bad luck. He said if you angel food cake is white, devil food cake is black. The black ball, the 8-ball control was the last ball to get knocked out. It was controlled by the white ball. And chess, the white piece moved first. So, you know, we got all these teachers. We heard all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing about all of this, and I think what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about, the Honorable Noble Drew Ali was talking about, was white supremacy. And white supremacy is not practiced by all white people.
Not at all.
But it is a religion. And the main purpose of white supremacy is to believe that the white man is God.
Period.
You know? So when the black man say black supremacy, then it's a problem. You know, it's like, oh, no, we're the guys. And then, you know, it's obvious, you know, if you're a Crip or you're a Blood or you're a GD or Vice Lord, of course, you know what I'm saying, you got opposing factions. So I think that that's what it is. But at the end of the day, you know, when you look at the White Citizen Council, the Ku Klux Klan, you know, what they have done, lynched all these brothers and sisters, how dare you, my brothers and sisters, you know, and I'm not no preacher, but I'm saying, how dare you allow yourselves to kill one another? You know, they said that the Ku Klux Klan say hallelujah now. Thank you, Jesus, because black folks is killing themselves.
Well,
you know, they actually, you know, making mockery of the church because they said, wow, you know, I can't believe that, you know, these men who have the real weapon of mass destruction, which Francis Cress Wells is saying, which is the so-called black man penis, because everybody know that, as Minister Farrakhan always say, dark genes are dominant and light genes are recessive, as he quote Mendo all the time. He said you can get the recessive out of the dominant, but you can't get the dominant out the recessive. You know, he also talk about the original man. He talk about the Time magazine where Time had a picture of Eve, and they said they call it Zinj Anthropus. Zinj mean black and Anthropus mean man, and it was fossils that was 14 carbon dated, almost 2 million years old. It was a so-called black woman, and that's how far they said they can go back. Then I just was doing some other recent study. I'm leading up to something.
No, you take that.
I did some other I was studying the Sahara Desert, right, which is where, you know, we from, Africa. And did you know that up under the Sahara Desert, there was actually a whole city, and there was marine life, meaning it was shells and all kind of stuff. And then way beneath, they drilled because they were trying to get some oil. Guess what came up? Water. Up under the Sahara Desert came water, and guess what the Fahrenheit of it was? 150 degrees. You could actually boil an egg up under the Sahara Desert, because every 50,000 years, what happens is, Brother Rick, is that like the Earth has a transition.
So now we want to go there?
No. Yeah, we're gonna go there.
Let's go there.
But the point that I'm trying to make to our brothers in hip hop is that if these folks is doing all these things and they're showing your heritage and they're showing your greatness, then brothers have to come to the conclusion at some point that, hey, look here, man, you know what I'm saying? We got all this money. We got to quit being selfish. You know, we tried everything, but we need to start trying unity. Once we try unity, once the Muslims and the Christians and the Bloods, the Crips, everybody in our community come together, and we start practicing group economics and group politics, we can change our situation overnight.
I totally agree.
So if you want to speak on that, I mean,
I do want to speak on that.
I see you moving. I think you might want to say something.
No, I do want to say something on that, because over my 65 years on this planet, man, and being able to watch this society and seeing what it has done for and against us. Mm-hmm. A lot of our people are, I think the proper way to say it would be unconscious. So looking at that, I think what's necessary is that we need certain people to come together in order to create this idea that you and I are talking about. Everybody's not going to gravitate toward this. Oh,
Absolutely.
so for the audience, I don't know how you took that, but when the European first came to America, everybody didn't buy into that idea
Sure did.
until he was showing some progress.
Right.
Then they all came running. So what we have to do is we have to get like-minded people to look at our situation and assess it and attack it intelligently. Right. That's not to say we want to become the enemies of white people.
What do you think in terms of when you think about, African Americans being 6% of eligibility to go to prison, and they 51%, and we still haven't moved our economic or our socio political conditions now one iota.
You know, that's one of the things I love about having conversations with you. You're heavy on your statistics. So when we put all these statistics together, for those that may not be able to digest that and regurgitate it, we'll just make it real simple. Mm-hmm. You'd have to be a goddamn fool not to see that there has to be hidden hands to create those statistics. There has to be something guiding that. This is not a coincidence. We're not in this condition by perhaps. This has to be direct. If you look at it, you said, we have all these guns in our community. We don't make not one gun, not one bullet. We don't sell not one gun. How did they get in our community? How did the drugs end up in our community? How does all of these negative things end up in our community? Now, let's take a look at this. Hip hop. Hip hop was a very powerful, and still is, except for some parts, it was message oriented. Now today, hip hop, the majority of it, and I'm not talking against my brothers, I love them, but the negative connotation is killing our children, man. We have to take responsibility of that. We have to ask the question, why do they choose to release this type of music on our children? What is that going to do to our children as they grow up into this?
Okay, let me be the devil advocate. Right? So, in the Prohibition in the 1920s, 1930s, right? The Italians was killing each other. They were doing more murder than we doing, and they was playing gangster music, movies, Elliot Ness and Al Capone and stuff like that. They was fostering the European community with this debauchery and this negativity. However, the Italians, they end up buying pizza joints. They end up buying casinos. They start getting into constructions and union, and I think that because of their negative income, that illegitimate income, it was able for them to calipo or morph to a legitimate entity.
Totally agree.
So we know there are examples where the same thing that happened to these immigrants, because Italians used to be worse than blacks. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember.
They used to say Italians worse than the black man when they first came over here as immigrants. But then somehow, because of the census and because of demographers, they became white.
Exactly.
Because it was important for them to become white. Now, they could be identified with, even Mexicans at some point going to become white because of, demographers said that, certain population is becoming extinct. So now when I look at that and I say, brothers, in the 1980s, they put drugs in our community just like they put alcohol in the Italian community, and they had a lot of people is drunk and dying from alcohol poisoning and stuff like that. Same thing happened in our community. I mean, this is facts. It's
No,
not
this
something
is real fact.
So when you think about the African American community, the problem, me and Too Short had this conversation, the problem we have is that we had just as much money as the Italians. You go look at some of the gold trains and some of the cars and stuff like that. You look at, even some of the brothers that made it out, some of the wealth that they created. We had the same thing. But the problem with us is that we went and bought gold chains. We went and bought cars. We made it rain in the club. And when they indicted Al Capone and they indicted all these gangsters, these Italian gangsters, by the time they got indicted, they had legitimized themselves. So their children is living off of the negativity and the criminality that they were perpetrating at that time.
Very true.
So why you think that we, even though we killed each other like the Italians did, we sold drugs like they sold bootleg liquor and stuff like that, why you think we didn't, better ourselves with all the money we was getting in the hood?
That's a very good question, brother. The thing I'm going to say to you is the advantage that the Italians had was they came from Italy. Mm-hmm. They had their culture intact. They had a government to mimic. They even had a criminal organization to transplant. You said something, and I don't know if people recognize how powerful that was. You said that Dr. Khalid told you that they had taken our language, they had taken our religion, they had taken various
ways and folk ways.
I don't know if people understand. That is the definition of the human rights terminology of civil death. That's how you kill a people, not a person, a people, with those things you just named. They took all of that from us. So I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna try to keep it moving. If that's how you kill a people, then in my perception, and I know I'm right, but for the audience, if God in these religious books is going to raise the dead, how do you think that would happen? We know ain't no dead physical person gonna get up out no grave. But if that's how you kill a people, then can they raise themselves from death?
Well, the Honorable Noble Ali said that when the will of God and the will of man become one, the resurrection is a fact. So what the Honorable Noble Drew Ali was saying in that regards, right? It's like the thought is the cause of it all. As a man thinketh, so is he.
So is he.
He said the thought must be developed by the exercise of the strength. He said time never was when man was not. The time was man was not. The time come when he began. So meaning that, knowing that you and God is one as a spirit, right? And your will become the will of God, then you can resurrect yourself from this condition that we in, right? Because right now we are mentally dead.
Totally.
So the only way, I think Dr. Frances Cress Welsing spoke on a whole nother level. She talked about, in the ISIS paper, she talked about how, the black man penis is made in the semblance of a penis. You look at the Washington Monument,
the
monument is made in the semblance of a penis. Everything is to symbolize the so-called black man penis in America because of the potency of what they call melanin. And because of the melanin in the so-called black man's body, it has the ability, right, to create motor skills and intellectual skills, which is formed during the early fetus. The so-called black man have 11 pigments. The chimpanzee have 12. It's the only thing that have more pigments but the Europeans have 5 pigments. So that's that melanin, that hue that creates that that people, right? That nation, So when you think about it from that perspective, it's a vested interest, right, for people of lighter hue to make sure that the people of darker hue stay blind, deaf, and dumb, and ignorant to the knowledge of self, and they take their language, their culture, their freedom, their folk ways, their more ways. Because if not, guess what? Then it's competition over collaboration. And when you allowed to compete, and you see how that works in sports, you see Michael Jordan, that's melanin. You see Herschel Walker, that's melanin. You see Mike Tyson, that's melanin. Yeah, all that is melanin. That's why we superior in sports. And when when you get your Carter G. Wilsons, you get your Charles Drew, you get your Percy Julian, your Malcolm X, your Martin Luther King, your Huey Newton. When you allow the so-called Negro to think, the T.D. Jakes, the Farrakhan, you allow the so-called Negro to think, then you got a powerful instrument because of the melanin, that's in that person's body.
Now, let's think about what you just said. If, in fact, that what you just said was a natural occurrence through nature, that this happens. If I am the less unfortunate one in that situation, what would I do to even the playing fields?
Well, first of all, you got to de-engineer. We've been socially engineered, so you have to de-engineer. What that means is, for the people, for the sake of the audience, that you have to start today with shows like what we're doing. And you have to keep inculcating and inoculating that truth into these brothers and these sisters. You have to create pamphlets. The ingenious thing about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was he gave them pamphlets. You know what I'm saying? And they had study guides. And in the study guide, it told them, to be repetitious, to overly, inculcate this thing in your brain. And that's why you see during the time of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he was alive, you see he had over $50 million when he died. He had Sister Claire Muhammad schools and universities and trucks and farms and stuff like that. So we was on the trajectory of that. The great brother Marcus Garvey, when he had the Back to Africa movement, you know what I'm saying? His organization, the Garveyites, they were doing the same thing. He was hit with a false charge of mail fraud, gave the man 5 years for mail fraud, and then allowed him to die in the prison, or before he got out of prison.
If you're the less fortunate one in that situation, then let's say if I was, I would have to create situations that would level the playing field for me. Meaning that I would have to do things to your disadvantage so that your natural abilities cannot excel, which would allow me to exploit my least abilities to equate with you on the playing field.
Right. That's powerful.
If people can't look out there and see that this is a consistent attack on black people, you eat the worst foods. There's drugs in your community of all kinds. Every time you get burnt out on one drug, they create another one. Now, no offense to the people that like to smoke, the number one weapon is marijuana. Why? Because they're putting all kinds of shit in it. It's not the natural grown plant that you and I used to smoke. This shit got all kind of chemicals in it.
And that's so true what you're saying. You messed with the nation's answer. Brother Wesley Muhammad, I was listening to him one time, and Brother Wesley Muhammad said that in the 60s, the counterinsurgency drug was heroin. And then, heroin, brothers not, they ain't finna do no revolution. Then in the 80s, the counterinsurgency drug was crack. If you geeked up, you ain't finna do no revolution. Now he's saying that the counterinsurgency drug is chronic because obviously they putting something in the weed, and you don't see too many brothers, on revolutionary principles no more because, they too high.
Hey, man.
Now they want to be. Now I had partners, right? I be sitting up in there with them. We be talking Black Power, and they smoking weed, and Black Lives Matter come on or Rider come on. They're like, man, woo, yo, Jack, I want to get involved in that. And like, man,
but here's the problem.
You know what they say? Man, I'm out of motherfucker. I ain't got time for this shit.
Here's the problem.
Counterinsurgency drugs.
There's something in this plant that they're distributing that causes a person, notice this. Once they smoke, they have brilliant ideas, but they can't get them out of their fucking head. You understand? They can't manifest the idea. And by the time they come down, that magnificent thought has dissipated, and you take another hit, and here comes another motherfucking stream of thoughts. Mm-hmm. I watch people, man, and I'm like, damn, you don't see that?
So what you think the solution? Because we got a major problem, I mean, man, I grew up, I raised my kids not to smoke weed. I think all of them smoke weed. And cause they never seen me smoke weed. I'm like, what we gonna do?
You know the biggest problem with marijuana is they sold it as a natural product. It's not a fucking natural product anymore. This is a scientific demon. They're putting all kinds of shit in the marijuana. So let's take fentanyl.
That's a bad one, isn't it?
What happens when you get addicted to fentanyl?
You're gonna die.
If you don't die, it's next to impossible to save yourself. Meaning that it's next to impossible to shake that addiction. See, it's different from heroin. Heroin, you stand a chance of weaning yourself from it. This fentanyl shit, this is a brain attack. The addiction is in the brain.
Yeah, so
once that brain is addicted.
So what type of mad scientists that come up with all these drugs?
Hey man, let me give it to you like this here. We're gonna keep it real simple because there are a lot of things we want to talk about. But I'm gonna take it back to this. What kind of motherfucking mad scientists did Hitler have that was coming up with all this shit? And then America went and captured and brought their scientists here and began to create LSDs, which they were already doing, and then distributed it on the public. What kind of mad scientist is that? Since people don't think that this shit is happening. This is a continuation.
You know Dr. Umar Johnson?
Yes.
So Dr. Umar
Johnson. I know
Johnson,
who he is.
Him and we had a meeting about 2 years ago in California, and Brother Umar Johnson was talking about reparations. He said, but they'd never give it to us, but at the Hip Hop Fraternity, Bishop and Dr. Bay, we got a committee for reparations, right, in my organization. But I kind of concur, and I'll be trying to push to the brother Bishop and the sister Dr. Truth Bay. I try to tell them, like, look, Umar's right. If we want to give reparations for our children, if we want reparations, then the reparations got to come through the music of our ancestry. Talk about all the publishing that was stolen by the music industry, because, a lot of this publishing, which is really important, and I try to tell young people, 85 years after your death, publishing is still relevant. I think it was Michael Jackson who bought the Beatles publishing for $50 million, and I think Janet Jackson, the Jackson estate, just sold it for $1 billion. I think that when we talked about earlier, we talked about God, saying that we would come out with great substance. And I said, I believe that substance is hip hop. I think that if we can come together as a people. Just like we marched on Washington for civil rights, I think we need to march for publishing rights. And I think if we can get our rights from these performance and right organizations, and we can get all of the rights of our foreparents, I think that we can reparate ourselves.
Hey, man, you make me really, really go there. We have to understand, what is reparations? See, we have a...
It's supposed to be the repair.
Yeah, it is a repair, but at what level?
Well, there's no way, if you want me to ask the questions, you ask the question. I know. I'm going to call this the You From the Gang host, Mr. Rick. I love asking questions. I love to talk. So, hey, this works perfectly for me.
Exactly.
So they won't think, oh, he's just talking too much. So,
no. This is how we communicate.
Yeah, but take this into account, my brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from 1665 to 1965, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the math, right? Mm-hmm. At the time, in 1665, you know, if you go back, if you just want to just go, we go back to 1555, John Hawkins, but if we just go back to 1665, just for sake of political right, at that time, the minimum wage was 50 cents an hour. That means 8-hour days. That's $4 a day. It was 5 million slaves from 1665 all the way up to 10 million. So you're talking about, if you add up, let's say roughly $10 million, $20 million a day for 250 years. And you talk about reparating. Then if you go back to what they did to the school system, where they literally wouldn't allow the teachers to go past 8th grade. You know, to be a teacher back in the 20s and 30s, you just had to have an 8th grade education, which stifled the education because we know education go beyond 8th grade. And you think of all the money that was lost and all those people who didn't go to Harvard, didn't go to Yale, didn't go to even HBCU,
right,
would have been highly educated and probably could have, you know, if you educated, you could probably, you know, think yourself up out of poverty, right? You know, and all of the years that were, man, there's no way you can reparate that. There's no way they could pay the proper reparations
to
ameliorate that.
We go back to Dr. Khaled. Love the brother. You take a people's culture away from them. You take their religion. You take their language. I think there are two others. Either or. When you get to the definition of all that, that's a human rights violation. That is what reparations is. Reparations, after a people have been demised in the context that I just said, reparations is to put the people back into their proper state. So how did you do all of that? How did you execute that? Do you understand what I'm saying? You went and transplanted a people from a place that they already had a culture, a religion, etc., etc. You see what I'm saying? Transplanted them here, killed all of that. Now, when you go to reparations, you have to put that people back in an independent place so that they can recultivate all that you took from them.
Do you think our brothers in Africa can, like my brother, my COO is from Africa.
I'm going to make some people mad. Go ahead.
So my brother here, he's from Africa, right? So, I mean, we all family, right? Do you think that
I ain't going to say right.
I'm saying, well, allegedly, right? So,
okay.
If you from Africa and you from the motherland, and you seen that all this was done to your brothers and sisters here in America, I mean, why you don't think our brothers from Africa reached across the aisle throughout the diaspora and came and tried to, you know, at least say, brothers, let's get this right. You know what I mean? Let's work together.
Well, let me help you out there because, man, we trying to get over this hurdle so we can go to some other things, but these are interesting. That's my brother. But what you're talking about, we're talking about all of this stemmed from the Atlantic slave trade.
Right, transatlantic slave trade.
So there were a vast majority of our brothers
complicit
in the homeland that were complicit in the conspiracy of the transatlantic slave trade. They were capturing in these tribal wars, capturing and selling us. So there's another human rights violation right there that reparations has to be dealt with too.
So you say Africa owed us something too?
You think not? You tell me somebody on this fucking planet that don't.
So if maybe we could get paid if we bring everybody together.
Well,
did the Chinaman have us enslaved?
He's the only one that I don't recall having anything to do with it.
Oh, okay.
He's the only one I recall that does it. Every other people.
Now just for the sake of talking, right? You know we got this is the Players Ball weekend. We all here celebrating Bishop in the Players Ball. So just for the sake of talking, now there have been many opportunities. Carter G. Woodson said the miseducation of the Negro. You know, W.E.B. Du Bois. You know what I'm saying? When you think about them, you think about Dr. Ben, the Black Man in the Alley family, Francis Cress Welsing, you know, the ISIS paper, Dr. Naeem Akbar, you know, the psychological stuff. There have been many of educated material to help us to ward ourselves from the condition that we find ourselves in. Because when I think about all of these books which I have read, right, and how powerful and how impactful they were in my life, which the reason why, you know, I mean, for the sake of, if you want to just say it, you know, I mean, I created my own nation, you know, the Hip Hop Fraternity. And, you know, we have over 10,000 members and we have lawyers. And you know, shout out to our legal counsel, Tiffany Simmons, Dr. Bay, you know, educated. We got Brother James, C.B. Gray, former vice president for the Bronx chapter, for our chapter under NAM, National Action Committee. He's now our national president and our national spokesperson. You know, I mean, those books helped me to have a different outlook. So do you think that even if we don't get reparations, that we still can change our conditions through education?
I think we can, but I think we need not to entertain the thought of if we don't get reparations. We cannot entertain that.
No, I'm just being, you know.
I understand, and I want to back up a little bit because I don't want to be misunderstood. I have no attack on my brothers and sisters in Africa. Right. I have no attack there. Most of it was done unknowingly, so we know that. But
But have you considered? I'm just saying this because I want. What about colonialism and what about priesthood? Because a lot of them brothers that when they met these people, man, they had a white collar on.
But see, all of that goes back to the 5 rules. That's a religious attack. You have to kill the religion. You have to kill the culture. You understand what I'm saying? All of these things fit in one bowl. No one can escape this. The world is afraid, as the books say, they're afraid of the sleeping giant waking up. If we all woke up to an educated understanding of reparations, it'd be hell to tell the captain.
But you know what though, bro? I'm gonna say this reluctantly, right? But as I do the statistics and I do the research, you know, it's more poor white people than it is poor African Americans in this country, and that is more white people under the welfare recipient system than it is African Americans, and it's more uneducated Europeans than it is African Americans. I mean, that was appalling to me to find that out. You know what I'm saying, through my research.
I feel for them, but that ain't my motherfucking issue.
Yeah.
See, my issue is different.
Right.
He stands a better chance with his issue.
I think Paul Rooney said it best. How you gonna waste all that whiteness?
Hey,
you know what I'm saying? You're privileged.
And they're angry.
Yeah.
Because they feel and have the right to feel they're justified in believing that they should have fair share in America. I believe that too.
So now that we done had all these beautiful conversations, what is the solution, my brother?
It all comes back to reparations, brother.
Reparations.
It's the only human rights that would allow us to heal ourselves.
So when Elijah Muhammad say, give us 5 cities, 5 states, and let us go for ourselves.
He was trying to prepare us for that day. You understand? We're here. You got to learn how to play before you get up on the big stage. Mm-hmm. So he was preparing us
for the day to come.
Hey, you got to know how to farm. You got to know how to educate. You got to know economics.
I'm hearing you out about you saying reparations, but what you say about Liberia when they the United States, which is a colony over there in Africa, where they gave a whole state to the brothers and sisters, and they allowed them to go over to Liberia, to be citizens, and they said over 3/3 of the brothers and sisters that was in America at that time refused to go.
That's because black people feel like they built this and they deserve a portion of it. Why should I have to leave here and go someone else or go somewhere else in order to benefit from my demise?
Well, that goes to the larger question about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad saying, give us 5 states so we could farm. So I think that I believe Dr. Naeem Bar talked about, he said, a curriculum of inclusion. So like, when I would study history, they teach me about Maynard Keynes and George Washington and Jackson and so on and so forth. And obviously, Jackson and George Washington were slave owners. But they said, this is the greatest president of all time. So it's
for who?
Well, hear me out now. It's easy to say that for us because we're conscious. But what about when you send your children to these schools in America and they educate them, and all the heroes are of European descent? We get 1 month, and that's February, and that's the shortest. That's the shortest month in the entire calendar, right? I'm just saying, I think it's a detriment, right? Because even to this day, whenever, you go somewhere to work, you know what I'm saying, you look on TV, it's always the dominant society in charge.
Well, according to the laws of nature, it should be that way. I don't come home from work. I got 5 kids. You got 5 kids. Mm-hmm. You live next door to me. Mm-hmm. When I get home from work, I don't run over to your house and hurry up and feed your children. Mm-hmm. That ain't the course of nature. The course of nature is for me to come home and feed my 5 children. Mm-hmm. And if there's something that I can do from after feeding my 5 children, then I should be neighborly and come next door. Mm-hmm. But not before I feed my 5 children. I don't care how much I love you. Mm-hmm. I ain't gonna feed your children before I feed my children.
Okay,
that's the law of nature.
In conclusion, we got a lot of brothers come on here, they're making transitions. Life is a collection of transitions, and it's also a transmission. So you got to switch gear. For the young brothers that's, rapping and, they trying to get out the streets and come into the music industry, can you leave them some closing remarks about, some of the things that you learned along the way and, some of the things that positive advice you can give them?
I want to say,
first of all, before you say that, can you look in the camera and say something to any one of your children? Your daughter and your son?
I want to say to all of my children, my 2 oldest children, and my oldest son, and I have a young one. But I want to say to my children that I apologize because when this conversation we're having, and in my upbringing, due to lack of information and misinformation, that I was neglect in what society says that the human being should do for children. But I say to my children, most of all, you don't do anything in life that the Creator didn't plan for you to do.
Right.
So what may not have been what you think to be the best situation then may have been the building of a foundation for you to have the best life now.
Right.
So I have never forgotten you, not one day. Everything I do in my life, including today, is for my children. See, you and I, we can talk, and we start getting into talking about building trust and doing different things to make sure that the children are straight. Well, I'm in the process of all of that for my children.
Yeah, you know, and you met my son today, right?
Yes, sir.
So, you know, I sent all my children to college, you know, and I always felt the way you felt about my children. You know, and for the young men and women out there, I know this is a very enlightened conversation, but it's a much needed conversation because I want you all to see that it's not just about us talking about the game and pimping and hoeing all the time, but, you know, sometimes, you know, you got to give a baby milk because they can choke them. You don't give them a tablespoon, you give them a teaspoon, and you give it to them bits and pieces. And as we evolve and as we go on and the show morph into what it's supposed to be, you know, you're going to meet more Mr. Ricks. And, you know, Mr. Rick has been an honorable guest, and, you know, he's talking about trust.
I could never gravitate to the game wholeheartedly because no, it was uncomfortable to me because the women just didn't seem to have their minds right.
But you was a player too. You hustled.
I was
right?
a cold player. I was one of the coldest players there was.
What was your hustle? What was your game?
I was a counterfeiter.
Counterfeiter.
Yeah,
So
I was.
in your counterfeit days, how much money do you think you made?
I could remember sleeping on $1 million.
See what I mean? How do counterfeit work? If I heard about it, but I mean, give me an example of what a counterfeit is. What they do?
The thing that I don't want people to understand, the concept of it is.
It probably won't work anyway.
It's a whole nother game.
Too much computers.
But I'm not trying to give you this game. This is a conversation. There are different things to counterfeit. You can counterfeit money. You can counterfeit checks.
Money orders.
Credit cards. Clothing. There's all kinds of stuff to counterfeit. I dealt with money. I went to the Fed joint for $1 million worth of cashier's checks. My biggest game was credit cards. I was counterfeiting credit cards when niggas didn't even know credit cards were being counterfeited. I was the only nigga in the town getting down, and it was ridiculous. So I made shitloads of money doing that. That was my hustle. And I always said, you know, again, Norman always taught me, he said, hey man, all game is to be respected. He said, but when it comes to pimping and hoeing, always know you're 10 hoes. So if you get one hoe, the bitch came up short. Work with that. Always depend on yourself. See, I've never met a P that didn't get in a situation to where as he looked up somewhere in his career, there wasn't no chicks around. Now he got to go out and find another chick. I was taught never depend on that because again, Norman. He said, do you have a pussy? I said, no, man, ain't got no pussy. He said, well, how you gonna sell one then? That's her pussy. And when she leaves, it leaves. Mm-hmm. And when it leaves, you got a problem. So I've always had that in my reservoir, which would not allow me to trust the game that much, because I had 3 chicks. I was making back in 83, 84, and I wasn't selling dope. I'm making $10,000 to $20,000 a day, just me. That little shit they was giving me was play money. So that's why I never gravitated toward it like that. I just loved the game. You know what I'm saying? I loved the culture of the game. And that's what kept me connected to it. And there was times that I had to use it in order to survive. But it was not my love. You know, my love was, I enjoyed being a player. I stopped gambling in the military. I used to honest gamble, but I understood the game of odds. And I used to beat guys out of a lot of money until one day they beat me out of 10,000. Now, you calculate $10,000 in 1978. I had to be 19, 20 years old. That was crazy money, man, $10,000. When them cats beat me out, because I was every 4, 5 days, I'm beating these guys out of 2,000, 2,500. But when they beat me out at 10, it was like they beat me at the wrong time. You know what I'm saying?
That just ain't fair.
Hey, man, no, man. Hey, I couldn't stand to do that. But I loved winning. But after that, I said, hey, look, I'm a sore loser. So that's not a game for me. And I've never been a serious gambler ever since.
You took a recent gamble and you created a show called The OGs. Can we sum it up with that and then we're going to get out of here?
The original OGs. My partner and I, he had been a director and producer in the movie industry for 20 years. And he and I, we kept doing different projects together. Did some stuff for Bishop, did some stuff for a lot of people, man. But we kept running into this problem to whereas people thought that we were chasing them or begging them or something. So he said to me one day, why don't we just do our own damn show, man? Now, mind you, this brother got 17 movies under his belt. Mm-hmm. Ain't no punk. Mm-hmm. He said, why don't we just do our own show? I said, I can see that. Let's create a concept. Well, what happened was, he was in the process, because he's a writer too, he was in the process of writing a book on the story of my life. Mm. So he said, hey man, rather than write the book, let's create a show. Mm-hmm.
That's a good show, man.
Hey man, so I said, yeah. I say, well, how do you want to tailor it? He says, well, let's keep it based on the story of your life. Yeah. I said, okay. I said, but I can't do nothing negative, man. I can't do all that. I don't live like that no more. He's like, no, that ain't what we want you to do. We want you to, let's give it a positive twist, mm-hmm. but let's keep the game real. Mm-hmm. You know, you were on my show. Yeah. We didn't try to hide anything, but we just want, just like today, we want people to understand that our game is elevated, man. You know, you understand? We familiar with all of this, but we want you to really see what level our game is on. Yeah. So that's what we created the show for. We've done people. I've interviewed Jesse Jackson, Bill Duke, some of the children of Larry Hoover, Papa Snoop, I got an interview next week with Big Daddy Kane. I mean, I'd be going. I got 30 shows in the can, and we ain't even released a show yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did. You guys do some marketing with that too.
Oh no, brother. We're coming out in March because we have a deal on the table with Podcast One. They asked us to push the show back till March because they said we won't have another budget until March because it's the close of the fiscal year. So,
and you know, if y'all did that thing professionally, y'all paid me and y'all paid everybody to come on.
We pay everybody.
It was like y'all was just trying to hustle, you know. And that was,
oh no,
that was uniqueness about it.
Yeah, we put you in your hotels. We do the whole, you know, we treat you and our guests.
And the food was delicious.
Hey, we treat you like a celebrity. That's what you are.
Yeah.
I've been knowing you 30 years, man. Yeah. I know who I'm dealing with, and like I tell my partner, we cannot ask my friends to come and do this, and we don't treat them like the celebrities that they are.
Absolutely.
Period. Whether they ever been in front of a camera or not, their life story.
You know, a good, in conclusion, Sonny was interesting.
That's my man.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go down there with that brother, something else. Shout out to Sonny, man, bottoms up, East St. Louis.
Love you,
shout
brother.
Out to Cash, you know, our CEO down there in St. Louis. So, brother Rick, man.
That's my man.
It's been, hey man, it's been a pleasure and an honor. You know, I'm glad that you gave him a summation of the game before you got out of here because I know they probably like, that dude is just too shy. I know you're old school film, right? And you just bust like, yeah, I had 3 bitches. Hey, what? That nigga sound like Fairchild Jr.
Hey man, you know, life has been a journey for the young people out there. We're gonna say this in closing. If you heard that song that we opened up with, This Is Your Life, then you will know the story of my friend and I's life if you would go listen to that song.
I want to close with a song too, though.
We're going to definitely do it, but this was on you.
Hey, man, I set my award from the hip-hop fraternity, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's your boy Skrilla. Shout out to Pimpin, you know what I'm talking about? All the way up, no stops, Jack. You feel me? 400. I gotta sit down before I get in there, motherfucker. What's going on, man? Hey, hip-hop fraternity is going down, man. The Red Sun, we in the building. Yeah. Hey, what's happening? It's your boy, the Red Sean, and I formally accept my nomination for the Hip Hop Fraternity Award. Yeah, this your boy Breadwinner Kane. I will be performing at the Hip Hop Fraternity Awards 2024. Salute to my bro, Pimpin Ken. Yeah.
In traffic, tell Ken out there at the ball.
Okay. I'm gonna get your number from G Gun. I'm about to holler at you. For sure, man. Love, church.
Church out here.
Yeah,
you see little P out here?
Yeah, with the biggest P of the P's, man. The biggest of the biggest, man. You hear me? Yeah, what's going on, man? Yeah, with the big church, man.
Yeah, you know we live in the ATL.
What's going on, man? It's Young Free, man. Yeah, with the OG, man. Yeah, the
We're in there. And the ATL playoff ball, baby. 2023.
That's how the hoe came. Bitch, you know who you fucking with? I ain't no lanes. Unc Ben taught me how to whip up the cocaine. Bustin' chasing, swiping cards like it's the dope game. Bitch, if you walk in this bank, you getting a new range. Nigga, if you really got rank, then we can do things. Boy, I really be in my duffel. I feel like 2 Chainz. Got it all back in a hurry like this a new way. In the trap, next to my chopper, playing 2K. Hitting demons, cash on my son, they know his daddy paid. In my knees, pray to the Lord that we see better days. All this money came off a Senate, don't see a better way. If you owe me some money, then you better pay. 1,300 and change, cost that a Louis sneak. Grind hard, keep hoes out your business, and you can be like me. Going up, all a nigga wanna do is just to be like me. This shit done went further than that, nigga, as you can see. I'm on alert, 1,000 pounds in the B&B. Fuck around, be up in your town, kick it with S&Me. Like I put the word around, nigga, don't play with me. Action mans, they gon' tell you, boy, don't play with him. I'm in the A serving bags like we baby new. Yeah, man, the boss medic at the HHF shit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like
co-op, that's that co-op.
See, Pimpin was in here earlier, and he put the pimp spirit in the air. Give me some gangster shit.
Just go get the book when it come out. I'm out of best book in the country, best-selling book in the country, period.
This book right here, Pimpin' Ken laid it on me. My God. Cross the tracks, man.
Now let's talk about this book. And Ken is the homie.
He a legend. He a legend.
I fuck with Ken Steve-O. They came to me with, you know, Simon Schuster. Boss me and you the shot caller. When you write a book about somebody, it's about what they've been through.
I saw my first nigga get killed. I was 9.
I was at school, nigga trying to bring me 17 pounds.
And I got cancer. And my auntie Keisha died. Jean died. Everybody was dying. I ain't think I was gonna make it.
Me and Revy never hung out together. That's what this book, the world don't know. We never been in the streets together. Master P was in their heyday. They came, they moved to Baton Rouge, so I saw these dudes all the time. Matter of fact, I broke them over Dick Girl car. When I saw how big they was, all these niggas riding around in big trucks. My show was like 1,200, and I got a pocket full of money. I went and got a player, dog. I went and got fresh every day. I was thugging, man. Every week I was on some shit. Fights, shootouts, beef.
Hey, how you doing? This is James C.B. Gray, President and National Spokesperson for the Hip Hop Fraternity. Thank you for watching the trailer of the making of an autobiography of a celebrity featuring Little Boosie.
Sales. That's 100 large when you hit a dope bill. $3,000 fitted still got a coke smell.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Pimpin Ken, man. I want y'all to go get my new book, The 48 Laws of the Game, Pepology, man. This is the book that everybody is reading. They love it in the prisons. It's selling all over the world. Everything that your father, your uncle didn't teach you, this book will. This will give you a whole lot of game. And it's for men and women. And if you want to be a winner, go get my other book, The Art of Human Chess. It's a bestseller. Both of my books are bestsellers. And if you want to get the book, just go to thehiphopfraternity.com. Go to the link books and hit the book. If that don't work for you, go to Amazon.com. If that don't work, go to audiobook.com. Type in my name, Pimpin Ken. I guarantee you that the book will pop up. And just order the book. We got the audio book, we got the hardcover, we got the paperback. Anything you need, just go to any one of those platforms, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, and get the book.